This is the Real Sim Racing Rewind, test episode number 1 for January 3rd, 2013, with Greg Netherwood and Patrick Hahe. This week on the Rewind, we talk about Chalmers Parker's win in the late model series at Richmond.
We also visit the Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series at Richmond and the winner, John Abbott.
And we'll wrap things up with Clifton Cottrell winning at Watkins Glen in the Roadhog Series. This is the Rewind. Stay tuned for this week in Real Sim Racing. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Realsimracing.com Rewind here. Your look back at everything that happened at Real Sim Racing and Can-Am Racing Series within the past week. I'm Patrick Hahe, your humble guide for the week, and joining me, as always, the one, the only Greg Netherwood. Greg, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Well, can't complain too much. It's bowl season, so, got one eye on the Oregon game here and the other eye here with you, and get ready to talk about everything here in our first podcast.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed next week when we're going to be broadcasting the Monday race. I'm going to end up having to miss that watching the national championship game, so hopefully you'll be able to handle that one for me. But, definitely with bowl season, I hope everybody will be able to understand.
Well, as I told Angelo on the forums the other day, you get yourself some Sirius XM, you pop an earbud in underneath the headset, and you listen to the home or the way broadcast, depending on which way you want to go. In my case, the national broadcast, and you get both done at the same time.
And then you have a reasonable excuse as to why you took out half the field, because you were listening to the bowl game.
Well, that's why I'm an eye in the sky and I don't run Monday nights, but that's why you are a sub.
Oh boy, I forgot I have to run that race, don't I? Guess I'm gonna be missing the bowl game.
Yeah, I guess you should take that up with Glenn. But anyway, I think we'll go ahead and get into it here, guys. We have a great podcast lined up for you here. We're going to be covering the Asphalt Assault Series, the late mods for Can-Am Racing Series, and the Roadhogs, which is John Abbott's new road racing series he started up on Sunday evenings. And lots to cover here, Greg, don't you think?
We definitely do. We're going to get right into it with the Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series, which is the weekly Wednesday night series here at Real Sim Racing. We're actually going to bounce back 2 weeks to the Atlanta race, since we're starting a little late here. That race actually was won by yourself, Patrick Hahe. Managed to stay out. Oh, let me just say that again. That was actually won by yourself, Patrick Hahe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard of him. I mean, he's all right.
Yeah, I heard he's a wrecker.
But actually, you pulled that off despite being on old tires. Pulled a late race gamble, stayed out after most of the leaders had pitted, and you beat the likes of Landon Huffman, which is no small feat, as Landon, as most of you listening know, won our Monday night Full Throttle Cup Series last season, the inaugural winner of that series. So Patrick pulled it out over Landon and many of others, including Chad Cole and the like. Also another former champion here at Real Sim Racing. But we'll bounce right off of that, going right into this week with the Richmond race, which was actually won by John Abbott.
Yeah, you don't want to stroke my ego too much there. I understand. Yeah, John Abbott also took advantage of some pit strategy to get up front in the Richmond race, which worked out very well for him, considering that there were a lot of cautions at Richmond, a lot of people driving aggressively, trying to get every position they can. And, that typically happens in races like that because everybody gets in that groove where they don't know how long that next run's going to be, so they feel like they have to get as many positions as they can. So he used a little bit of tire and fuel strategy, and he got up front there at the end, and some late cautions definitely helped him out. Yeah, as I was saying, there are a lot of cautions in the race, and it actually affected the points in a lot of ways. And I was wrapped up in an accident and fell back to 27th place, R.J. Williams, who was second in points now. He got involved in the first caution of the race, I believe.
Yeah, he was actually the very first caution he was running, I believe, seventh at the time. Was on the outside going into turn one and got bumped out of line. It was a pretty a light hit with the back end into the wall. Really didn't do much damage. So his car was actually all right afterwards. But as you can tell, coming from 32nd, right off the bat in a short track like that, with caution after caution due to everybody trying to make up all those spots, it was tough. So he was involved in that first wreck early on where he was bumped out of line, and it was a pretty soft hit in the rear end. And as you know, coming from, he went all the way back to 32nd, and he came all the way back after all those yellows and staying out and using strategy. And actually came home second behind John. So that was a pretty impressive that he was able to pull that off, and actually did bump him all the way up to second in points behind yourself by 6 points. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, talk about somebody who had some bad luck there. Pole sitter Ben Burnett was up there racing with Landon Huffman, and they all got together in a nice little kerfluffle. And Burnett ended up falling back to 21st, and he led 78 laps in the race. So, really some bad luck there because he had probably one of the fastest cars in the race.
Oh, he definitely showed that in practice. I think he was second or third in practice. He's always been fast at Richmond. He was last season as well. When he's ran with us in the late models, he's been fast there. So it's no surprise that he was out there and led the most laps, 78, I believe it was actually. I think he said. But just bad luck. It's a short track. If you get stuck, mid-pack, chances are there's going to be an accident sooner or later, and you're probably going to be involved. If we look back at the stats, I believe there's only one car who actually did not have any incident points that race. So it was just typical short track racing. It is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And before we move on too far, I guess we'll go ahead and run through the top 10 here. John Abbott, your winner here. He led 39 laps to win the race. R.J. Williams finished second with Scott Brotherton in third. Clayton Silofsky, and pardon me if I really butchered that name, finished in fourth. And fifth, Chad Schilling, after starting 19th.
Yeah, Ronnie Potts came home sixth. Nate Bowers, after starting 20th, moved all the way up to 7th. Now, Nate always runs a nice conservative strategy, and I really like that. He usually just kind of rides around and then picks him up at the end. So he came up 7th, his best finish in a while. Chad Cole, usually a top 5 guy, got involved in an early wreck, but ended up coming home 8th. Rick Fouts 9th, and then yourself, Patrick Hahe, recovering from your mid-race incident, coming from all the way from 24th at that point, all the way back up to top 10 finish, and with retaining the points lead, no less.
Yeah, me and Lanza got together going down into one, and those sort of things happen, and it's a little upsetting at first, but you just got to cool down and keep going. Other notables in the order: 14th, Landon Huffman finished 1 lap down. Then you have Adam Robertson 20th, 11 laps down. Not really a whole lot of spread in the field. You had the top 13 that finished on the lead lap, and then you only had 2 cars within 2 laps there at the end.
Yeah, definitely. There were some big names at the back as well. You got David Lanza, who is almost always a force at Richmond. In any car we go to that track in, he finished 32nd after that mid-race wreck. Keith Brooks had another rough night, finishing 28th. Sean Casto, who as many times basically kicked our butts at Richmond in the late models, he unfortunately finished 27th, actually after missing the start. So some big names at the back.
Yeah, and that definitely reflected itself as we look at the points after 2 weeks here in the Asphalt Assault Series. A short 10-race season, number 1 in the points, Patrick Hahe with 81 points. 6 points back is R.J. Williams. And after his win at Richmond, John Abbott jumps up to 3rd in the points, 7 back. Chad Cole is 4th, 8 back, and Landon Huffman is 10 back in 5th.
You're going to have a tough time holding that lead with that bunch of guys behind you.
Well, I accept the challenge because what else am I going to do? Cower in a corner?
Very true, very true. Next week, we will be going to Kentucky for 90 laps on the concrete oval. The last race we ran there in season 3 in September of this year, or last year now. There were 31 cars, and the race was actually won by Angelo Corradino. To date, his only win at RSR, Realsimracing.com. He won from the pole and led a race-high 43 laps.
Yeah, Kentucky's another one of those grab bag races since it's a pretty easy track to drive. Typically, it's just figuring out everybody's lift-off points going into 1 and 3. That is usually the biggest issue. And, it's still early in the season. We're only 2 races down. And if this tells you anything, the top 10 are all within 18 points of one another. So there's plenty of time left to separate the field out and see who the true contenders for the championship will be. And it should be fun to watch, especially since this is a shorter season. So it's more of a sprint as opposed to a long championship run.
And definitely with no drop races as well, so pretty much every race does count. You really can't afford to have a bad race. And really, if any one of those top 5 mess up, there's going to be 4 guys ready to pounce.
That will definitely be something to look forward to for next Wednesday night. If you're interested in running, sign up at realsimracing.com. They run as many cars as the track supports. Typically, 43 is the maximum. Sign up at realsimracing.com for your chance to run. Practice starts at 8:30, qualifying at 9:30, and racing by 9:40. And that's pretty much it for the Asphalt Assault Series, but let me remind you that this, of course, this podcast is brought to you by ETV Live, the leader in sim broadcasting, and you can find them at etv-eplay.net. They are the proud home of the Monday Night Icebreaker series for Realsimracing.com, and also the Thursday Night Outlaw Truck series, which you can tune into both of those races at 9:30 p.m. only on ETV Live, the leader in sim broadcasting.
Now we've branched off of the Asphalt Assault series and now move into our first Sunday night series. As some of you may know, we actually run 2 Sunday night series at Real Sim Racing. The first one is a early evening series, the Real Sim Racing Roadhog series, which is actually a late model series that runs as an open setup series on road courses and road courses only. It's a very exciting series. I've only been able to participate one time, but I had a blast. The last race they had was actually at Watkins Glen, a race that was actually won by Clifton Cockrell. He came from the back after terrible back-to-back finishes of 13th at Laguna Seca last week, and then 2 weeks ago of 14th at Okayama, both times wrecking out within the first 10 laps.
So Clifton had a great run, and moved up through the field and, essentially stole the win. He only led 2 laps the entire race from Bruce Perry, who finished in second with 15 laps led. Danny Johnson finished in third in the Starton Park Motorsports car. He started 6th. And then Ray Pulido in Sweetleaf Racing car started 3rd, finished 4th. Bill Fields got the 5th place finish for Lone Star Racing after starting on the outside pole.
It's definitely a tougher series, as they don't run quote-unquote a lap type of race. They run timed. They only run 40 minutes at a time, so it's kind of pretty much who can finish the most laps in that 40 minutes of time, which is impressive that Bruce Perry actually only finished 2/10 behind Clifton, given that it's over a 40-minute time span. And to run 40 consecutive minutes and only finish 2/10 behind somebody, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that's compounded by the fact that there are really no cautions ever on the road courses, especially in league races. We did it with the Elevation Sim series I took part in, and those were hour-long races with half fuel. And after about 10-15 minutes of racing on a road course, your arms start getting tired. The road racers will know this for sure, but you have to start losing a little bit of focus. So to be able to run for 40 consecutive minutes is definitely a nice challenge and a nice addition to the league, and it's definitely a hard-earned win for Clifton and everybody else that runs that series.
The series is typically, I won't say dominated, because it's really not the right word to use, but Bill Fields usually does run up front. He only finished 5th this last race, finished 5th, about 11.5 seconds back. But he does retain a points lead, 14 points, which doesn't sound commanding, but actually in that series, that really is quite a substantial lead. So 14 points up with 2 poles, 2 wins, and 4 top 5s in 4 races over a Ray Polito, and then 22 points over Justin Wilson. So it's going to be tough for them to overcome that, especially with Bill constantly getting those top 5s. I believe right now he and Polito are the only 2 that have finished in the top 10 in all 4 events, I believe.
Yeah, that is correct. And Clifton moves up to fourth in the points. He's 32 back, so he has some ground to make up. I believe they have 6 or 7 more races on their schedule. Danny Johnson's in fifth. He's 36 points back, and he's the first driver with only 3 starts. He has gotten a top 5 in all 3 of his starts as well, so that's pretty impressive. And he's sitting back in 5th place.
The next event will actually be Summit Point, the main course configuration. As I said before, it is a 40-minute timed event that will be taking place Sunday evening. Practice opens at 6 p.m. and the race begins at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as I said before as well, it is a open setup race series. Unlike most of our other series, it is an open setup series running the late models. So we keep that in mind, but definitely sign up, realsimracing.com. It is a fantastic series. And like we said before with the ETV Live, the past segments brought to you by iLeagueRace.com, your source for multi-site content league management systems. Again, that is www.iLeagueRace.com.
Yeah, Realsimracing.com uses Realsimracing uses their service, and that puts out a good product.
Definitely. They used to use a homegrown PHP style site, and I tell you, I don't know if you're around back in those days, but that was awful. So iLeague Race is definitely the place to go if you need a league series, any type of league web page. That is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, let's put it this way. It takes all the work out of it so you can have more time having fun on the racetrack. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Can-Am Racing Series.com late model tour. They were at Richmond on Sunday night, and once again, series domination from Chalmers Parker.
You know, that guy, he's season three's champion, and he's actually the career winner or the career leader in wins for the Can-Am Racing Series. And he's every time we go to any track, the guy's always up front. It is just what it is.
And this time he actually had to work his way through the field a little bit, especially since we only had 3 cautions. But I believe at one point he was a little deeper back in the pack than he really wanted to be, and he really had to hustle that car through. And I guess that's the reason why he has his little driving school there on the hood, right?
It is. It is actually. If anybody happened to partake in that event, I'll fill the masses in. Actually, while he was in the back of the pack, due to pit strategy, actually had a little bit of controversy, and that being, when the car's late model tour, we have a rule being if you cause a caution, you basically take on the longest line penalty when the ensuing restart. It's basically based on the honor system. And if you cause a caution, you man up, and we usually don't have any issues with that. However, there was some discrepancies between 2 drivers as to who actually truly caused that yellow, and the wrong driver actually ended up being the one to take it. And if you really went back and looked at it, it was actually Chalmers, so he got away with one.
Yeah, and he admitted to it after the race, but it was a little too late there. So Chalmers does officially get the win and extends his point lead out over Greg Netherwood. But definitely, since we only had 3 cautions during the race, it was a ton of fuel strategy being played by everybody on the few cautions we did have.
You know, with the mid-race caution, we had one quick caution. I believe it was on lap 15. I believe it was, and based on the prior events at Richmond, actually also at the sister track of Iowa, where we have long green flag runs, most everybody tried to stay in the pits a little bit longer, get that extra little gallon. Because if you remember back in season 1, when we finished up our season at Richmond, there was probably 8 or 9 guys who ran out on the last 2 or 3 laps. So drivers such as myself, John Abbott also, Sam Edwards, we all stayed in the pits a little bit extra longer to get that few extra gallons. And we thought it was going to work out beautifully, especially me and Abbott, who got an extra, I believe it was an extra 4 gallons that stop. So we thought we were going to be golden. And then the mid-race incident with Parker kind of threw that one out the window.
Well, it kind of threw that out the window for a lot of people, actually, because a lot of people got caught a lap down trying to get fuel into their cars. Since if you're not familiar with running the late model, it's a different fueling system. It's essentially a virtual 5-gallon bucket that's being poured into the back of your car. But imagine the 5-gallon bucket actually has about 10 drill holes through the bottom of it. And there's also like a chain gang, handing the buckets back and forth down pit road.
He's not kidding,
slow.
folks. It really is that slow. It's bad.
So if you don't pay attention and you don't turn your fuel off or you don't set it low enough, there's a chance that you could get stuck on pit road, and that happened to a lot of people. I believe we were down to like 8 cars on the lead lap
Yeah, yeah.
after the last caution.
And that's happened at a few races we've had. Unfortunately, since the Cars Late Model Tour runs tracks always under 1 mile only, at shorter tracks such as Thompson, we had it happen once at South Boston back in season one, and actually USA International, a few others where guys at the back of the pack who try to get an extra bit of fuel, they'll get caught a lap down, and you will frequently be 1 lap down very early on if you're not watching your fuel gauge while it's being loaded up.
But even with all the fuel and the chances to get fuel, with 3 chances because of the 3 cautions without too much of a penalty, at the end of the race, Sam Edwards, who had dominated most of the race, he led the most laps in the entire race. He ran out of fuel on the last lap, unfortunately.
Yep, he got bit by the bad luck bug again. And when the season opened at Phoenix, which was Edwards' first race in the Can-Am Racing Series, he actually led the most laps at Phoenix as well, but bad luck and ended up not coming away with a win, finished fourth. And then this time ended up, I believe it was fourth again, if I'm not mistaken, as he ran out on the last lap coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, I believe somebody in a 57 car might have just eked him out at the line.
Oh, gee, who was that? Oh, that's right, that was me.
No, you don't say. But, there were 8 lead changes in the race, which was the most since the first time that we ran at Richmond. Season 1, which was 15 lead changes. It's been kind of up and down throughout the 5 times that we've run there.
Yeah, it was surprising. Somebody posted in the forums before the race, will we see more cautions next week at Richmond? And I brought up the fact that, the first time we went, we had 1 caution. Second time, we had 10. The third time, we had 4. And, it's up and down, up and down. So you never really know when you get to Richmond. It's either going to be a fuel mileage race or, nothing but short bursts.
Fuel mileage, lead changes, cautions, all major variables at the track, and that's why we love to go there. We have one more visit to Richmond in the late model series later on this year. But why don't we go ahead and run into the points here? Chalmers Parker leads Greg Netherwood by 16 points, and that seems like a lot early in the season, but that does take into account that Chalmers does have 2 wins and 3 top 5s.
He's tough to beat no matter where he goes. The guy can have bad luck everywhere, and he'll still somehow come away with a top 5 every time.
He's also leading. I almost said he's almost leading, but he is not the leader in bonus points. But he does have 4 bonus points and 0 penalty points, which is a big plus. Leading the bonus points is actually Sam Edwards, who has 7 bonus points and 1 penalty point. We can get into that here a little bit after we get through the run through. But Greg Netherwood in second, 16 points behind. Nick Silver, 17 points behind in third. Sam Edwards, 19 points behind in fourth. And John Hannon Jr., fifth in points, 22 points behind.
And yourself, Patrick Hahe, down there in 6th in points, 31 points back. Big mover this week, actually, getting your second top 5 of the season. You jumped up 6 points, or 6 spots up to 6th. Pretty impressive there. Not to toot your own horn or anything, right?
Then, I'll slip you the 50 after the show there, Greg.
Thank you. Think I could use his money. And John Milway is 7th in points, 42 back. Sean Casto sitting 8th, 43 back. Nate Lewis, 44 back in 9th. And fellow administrator of the Can-Am Racing Series, Chris Hahe, is sitting 10th in 49 points back.
I'll try not to use the money on leg extensions there, buddy.
I'll do my best.
And up next for the late model series for Can-Am Racing Series.com is New Smyrna, which is also a interesting track for us to go to.
Yes, we average 11 cautions a race there, but it's just like Richmond. It's up and down. We had 7 one race, we had 15 another, so you almost never really know what you're going to get.
And yeah, New Smyrna and Richmond and Iowa are all like a box of chocolates. All the chocolates turn left, and about half of them are coconut. Also kind of different with New Smyrna, though, is that there's only about 4 lead changes a race. Not a whole lot of passing up front, but definitely a lot of passing in the back of the field because of how the track is laid out.
Yeah, really, there's truly only one real fast lane, and when you're the leader or you're alone, you can really hit that lane every time and really pull away. So, with that said, Tony Godwin is actually the only repeat winner we've had at New Smyrna. So, congratulations, Tony, there. He's usually a part-timer with us, so hopefully we'll see him back this week. But yeah, with only 4 lead changes a race, that's quite surprising given that, you go to other tracks like Iowa or Richmond where there's 7 or 8 a race.
Especially since we've typically run about 130 laps. This time we're running 120 laps when we go to New Smyrna. So we'll definitely have to see how that goes. And once again, remember that you can sign up at canamracingseries.com or realsimracing.com to run the late model series on Sunday nights. Practice opens up about 8 o'clock, and the qualifying starts at 9:30. You can also jump in spectator and watch the races if you don't feel like running. But remember, there's no more football on Sunday nights until the Super Bowl, so you have no excuse to not run, because football's done.
And we really do have a good time. I mean, we have roughly 25 guys every week that, we've all gotten along really good over the last year that we've been running this series. So definitely, if you're available Sunday nights and you love the late model like we do, you can run both the Real Sim Racing Road Hogs, follow that right back into the short tracks or the Cars late model tours. So you can get a whole evening full of late models, that's for sure.
And kind of cool too. We've never had less than 20 cars on the Sunday night late model series. So
Yeah, we had the last time we were under 20 was we had 19 back in, I believe it was May. So we have a pretty good streak so far.
So check out canamracingseries.com. Up next, guys, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back for the driver spotlight for the week. All right, welcome back here, everybody. This is the Driver Spotlight, where we take a look at all the drivers that run with Real Sim Racing and Can-Am Racing Series. And this is more of a serious / lighthearted thing because to be in the Driver Spotlight, you could be doing really well, or you could be having some bad luck. And so this week, we wanted to point out somebody that had some really good finishes leading up and just has had some bad luck this week. And so we salute you, John Milwain, driver of the number 22 car, who finished second at Atlanta last week and has had some other good finishes lately in all the leagues he runs in, and just had some bad luck this week in both the Can-Am Racing Series late models and the Asphalt Assault Realsim Racing Wednesday night series.
Yeah, definitely. Last week, actually the week before at Atlanta in the Asphalt Assault series at Realsim Racing, you finished second to yourself between you and Landon Huffman. So very good finish for him. And John typically does run up front. It's quite surprising to see this week at Richmond. Both Sunday night in the late models and then Sunday or Wednesday in the B car. That a guy that usually runs top 5 every time, and he was top 5 at one point in the B series on Wednesday. Just having some crappy luck, and he finished 26th in the B series, the Asphalt Assault series, and he finished 17th in the late models. So somebody who typically runs top 5, that's rough.
So once again, thank you for running with RealSimRacing.com and Can-Am Racing Series. Now to settle some more important matters, this is the week ahead. Fast forward to Thursday night. It's the Real Sim Racing Outlaw Trucks live on ETV at 8:30 p.m. practice, 9:30 p.m. broadcast. They are at Chicago. And then Friday, the Real Sim Racing Midnight Thunder Series with an 11 p.m. practice and a midnight qualifying time is at Michigan.
Saturday, the Can-Am Racing Series SK Modified Tour kicks off at Irwindale. That is 8 p.m. practice, a 9:30 p.m. race. And then Sunday evening, the Real Sim Racing Roadhog Series, the road courses, take place with a 6 p.m. practice, 7 p.m. start, and that is at Summit Point.
Sunday night, check out the Can-Am Racing Series late mods. They'll be running at New Smyrna with an 8 o'clock practice time and a 9:30 p.m. qualifying time. And then on Monday night, the premier RealSimRacing.com series, it's the Icebreaker Series live on ETV at etv-eplay.net. It's the 8:30 p.m. qualifying practice, 9:30 p.m. broadcast time. They are running at the latest track to hit the iRacing circuit. It is Rockingham. And then, Greg, take it away.
And then to wrap it up on Tuesday, the Can-Am Racing Series Pro Cup Series brought to you by TradingPaints.com. They are at Texas. That is an 8 p.m. start, or 8 p.m. practice, 9:30 p.m. green flag. Then on Wednesday, we are back at Realsimracing with the Asphalt Assault B Series. That is an 8:30 p.m. practice, 9:30 p.m. start. And as we said earlier, that is 90 laps at Kentucky.
We're done fast forwarding. That has been your week ahead here on The Rewind for Realsimracing.com. And that pretty much wraps it up for us, Greg. It's been a good first broadcast here, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely have some kinks to work out, but so far so good. I think we're going to be set for the future here.
Yeah, you can check out the podcast here on Realsimracing.com, Can-Am and more importantly, live and broadcasting on ETV Radio at etv-eplay.net. So check us out on one of those 3 locations, and we'll be having some fun with you here every week, time permitting, trying to cover all the action that happens across Real Sim Racing and Can-Am Racing Series. Having some fun and definitely trying to give some drivers the spotlight.
Yes, we definitely want to make sure that everybody knows that we have 7 straight days of racing here at Real Sim Racing and Can-Am Racing Series.com.
Well, that's it for us, guys. Signing off, I'm Patrick Hahe.
And I'm Greg Netherwood.
Have a good day or night, everybody, and we'll see you next week, or we'll see ya on the track.
Crap, where'd he finish? I should have wrote that down.
He finished somewhere.